Hey guys, this is Dagon123, and welcome to
Tenchicast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Tenchicast, presented by Tenchiforum.com. Tenchi has a few series that have a great division in what the fan response is, and one of these dark horses is none other than Tenchi Muyo GXP, which we are here to talk about today. With me, I have a fantastic cast of members from Tenchiforum: Crazed,
I wanna die.
Pie,
Since 1997.
Hiromech, JG,
Calling in from a parallel dimension.
and Who.
Hey everybody, great to be back.
So, right off the bat, what did you like about GXP, if anything?
Well, what did I like about GXP? There's not a whole lot that I liked about GXP, in all honesty. I mean, the few things I did like, I enjoyed it when Kiriko goes berserk and just started killing people because it was so out of character for her. Something I never thought I'd see her do. Other than that, I enjoyed Shank as a villain. You know, like I said in the villains cast, he was truly ruthless. Strangled little Cabot clones. I actually enjoyed him as a villain, as opposed to, say, some of these ones we've had here recently. But other than that, I really don't have a whole lot to say about GXP that I liked. There's not a whole lot more I can say about it.
I'm somewhat like Crazed, where there's spots in between. I mean, the overall kind of forced slapstick area of it was kind of against my grain, but I did enjoy seeing the episodes that tied the overall universe more together. There was different ones where they elaborated on like the Jorian technology, and some fans might get the wrong idea by me saying this, but I did enjoy some of the world building and seeing how Jirai operated with the politics. Maybe not the specific characters, like how Seto depicts herself and some of that, but seeing how things function, and like Washu's poor and some of the stuff about the GP that we'd never really seen detailed before was nice. Kirito going berserk was kind of interesting. I actually would have rather seen probably another 2 or 3 episodes of her playing female Terminator, but that and of course the dual elements I think would be my favorite stuff. All about 4 episodes worth.
That's a good question. As I'm gonna confess here, and people are gonna go, "What? Well, what's he even doing on the cast?" Well, I'm filling in for space here. Couldn't get everybody on today last minute, but I'm confessing that I've not even seen the entire series. Yes, and kind of like Craze said, I won't focus on what I didn't like, because that's kind of why I didn't able to finish it. Some things did like. Well, this does not apply for the dub for obvious reasons. See OVA3 cast/rant, but they threw in a little cameo with the Tenchi cast, the original Tenchi cast, not us. And although we are the original podcast, anyway, it was a different, totally different direction, and it was centered around a different main character. We had a huge cast of new characters, so that way it could really, be its own series. But then, having a little bit of a tie-in to the original series, its namesake, and the original characters that we were expecting to see coming in, I'm sure, with a title like Tenchi Muyo GXP or GP, whatever the case may be there. So, unlike, say, War on Geminar, where we got like nothing, it was it was kind of nice to, especially since here again with the title of being tied in Tenchi Muyo, people are coming in first time. We're going to expect to at least see Tenchi, and we got a little bit of that. So that was nice. As was just you know, a lot of Tenchi. The OVA that is was focused on the Misaki household, was focused on Earth. You know, right around literally the household there. GXP, we kind of got this tour guide approach to the GP right along with Sena being introduced to it kind of proper, if you will, I guess. So yeah, those are some of the things that I liked about it.
Well, I am a strong supporter of the franchise because I actually enjoyed it, and I will agree with Fu, is in like the fact that you get to get out there. It's the first time. It's like in Tenchi, he really doesn't leave his house much. I liked it because I went in and I went in with that impression that it's not Tenchi, it's not his adventures, it's a new character with no really not much connection to Tenchi other than he knows him and he lives in the same neighborhood. And I enjoy it because it had little quirks that I liked, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but there was still things that I did not like about it. But just the fact that I enjoyed the atmosphere they had. It was the same kind of atmosphere with how they would in Tenchi, but it was with a different character. And I thought the characters worked together. I thought they belonged together in one thing, and I liked how that group chemistry worked. And then I liked how the fact that how Who said, they got to explore space, and I liked how that worked. But I liked just this chemistry that the group had, and how it was kind of similar to what some way similar to what Tenchi was doing or what Tenchi had done. And other than they didn't just stay in one house for the entire season. They moved around a lot, and they were in the GP and doing missions and they're showing this kid who has skills, and he's actually he's just some human. I liked how they made him, he was just a normal human, and then he ends up becoming all special and stuff like that. I also like that, and how the fact that it's like an underdog story almost. He goes from being some kid on Earth to respected member of the GP before he's even graduated from the academy, and that was really got me. But it was just going in knowing that it was not Tenchi, so I couldn't expect it to be like that.
What can I say about GXP that I liked? Well, actually, I've got a couple things that I really do like. As Craze mentioned before, really like Tarrant as a villain. He's sadistic. He's got excellent marksmanship. In fact, episode 10 goes at length to essentially show that Tarrant could have easily killed Sane at any point in that chase. But every time he purposefully moved his gun away from that dead shot and shot at him. He's a sadistic villain. I love that about him. And the entire season, he's tenaciously dealing with Sena. He's trying to eliminate any kind of competition that he would have in, say, Serio and what have you. I really, really dug him. Speaking of Serio, he starts out as just kind of the same character we saw from the end of OVA Series 2, as he's just running around the GP. He's no longer Ayaka's suitor, so he went back to essentially what he knew, which was he was going back to teach at the Galaxy Police Academy, and damn it, that Tenchi just ruined my entire perception of Earthlings. I hate Earthlings. Sena, you're an Earthling. I hate you out of principle. And he essentially is a goofy adversary for a while, and he's a butt of a lot of jokes very early on. However, as the story progresses, you start seeing more and more of him try to make something of himself. One of the episodes I love about Serio is episode 18, which, for those of you who don't know, the director of this series was Shinichi Watanabe, better known as Nabishin, who also did Excel Saga. Episode 18 shows Serio's journey, where he goes from planet to planet on this epic journey, trying to find all these items to create this Lux ship to essentially counteract Seina's bad luck. And you get to see all his hardships, all his adventures, all his love affairs, all these wacky things that have happened to him, which directly parallel a lot of things that happen in Excel Saga with a character named Pedro and his son Sendora, who are also interacting with the self-insert character of Nabishin himself. And that was just nice. It's a very stark contrast between the way that Serio builds himself up, working hard, doing the work, getting in the field, as opposed to Seina, who in the same episode is laying back on the beach, sipping drinks, running away from the girls, watching the girls play in the sand and in the ocean, and so on and so forth. You have this stark contrast between lazing about and working hard, and Serio worked his ass off in that episode. Now, alongside Serio, you have Alan, Barry, and Cohen, who were originally on the bridge of the transport ship that was essentially transporting Seina from Earth to the Galaxy Police International Immigration Station. And they slowly get integrated into the pirates and essentially start becoming Serio's second fiddle. They essentially become his sidekicks. And they have a similar kind of story where they're working around with him, helping him achieve his goals. I really like that little quartet. Essentially, they very well contrasted what was going on with Seina and his crew aboard the Kamidake 2. Meanwhile, you also have NB, who, again, Nabishin is known for inserting himself into his stories. NB is a little spheroid robot, very similar to the Haru from Gundam, and except this one's been reprogrammed and tinkered with by Amane as well as Seina's roommates, and has become a horrible lecher. Now, when he's not being a horrible lecher, what he's doing is he actually points out and defuses, or sometimes explodes, certain people's other schemes. For example, Amane was, in one episode, Amane is supposed to be training Seina, but all she's doing is prostrating herself on the couch, essentially distracting him from what he's supposed to be doing. Well, in the entire time, NB was filming her, and later in the episode, when she tries to play off, oh, I was just training Seina, there was nothing going on, NB pops up and says, what you really want to see, what was going on was this. Proceeds to put on his manly face with the cigarette icon sitting in his fingers, and proceeds to show all of the footage of her teasing Seina, which just wrecks her entire plan of playing it off and having Seina to herself. I love how NB essentially trolls the entire show. For about the first 2/3 of the show, NB is in the background being either a lecher or a complete and utter troll to the entire series. And I loved the troll side of him, how he essentially broke up the monotony of the show. Similarly, again, Craze mentioned that Kiriko got to have her chance of being a badass in episode 10 alongside Tarrant. I would have loved to see a lot more of that. However, the next episode, episode 11, actually had Ryoko Bolota's backstory and essentially showed her playing both sides, playing the Galaxy Police and the Pirates, and showed a lot of contrast. Actually developed her character a lot, which would have been very, very great to see a lot more of that duality. That tension of her skirting that line between being a double agent for the Pirates and trying to be loyal to Seina for her affections for him. That was a great episode, and actually had a gripping moment when she was essentially ordered to assassinate Seina. And likewise, as JG said, the episodes with the Zimv idol unit at the very end of the series had some very dramatic and very awesome special effects and very good action. That's sadly, again, if only it had been dragged out for a few more episodes. But there were some very good points of the series that I did appreciate.
I liked some of the ideas that GXP attempted, one of which was reintroducing Serio back in. I think it was interesting to have him go from, this kind of snotty Jiraiyan guy to, a guy who has to work hard to get what he has. And even if half the time he is played off for a goof, nice to see him reintroduced at least to do something. I will agree with what GG had said earlier in that, one of the few things I liked about GXP was that we got to see the Galaxy Police. Well, we did have a few glimpses of the Galaxy Police in the past, We never really, delved into the academy. We never delved into the school aspect. Granted, the GP that we see in Universe and the GP that we see in the OVA are two radically different things, but it is nice to see, it's nice to leave the Misaki household. Like Hiromeka mentioned, it's nice to finally get out of the house and, look at other things that are going on in this big, vast universe and, actually seeing missions and stuff, like things you would expect, for the most part, the Galaxy Police to do. I also agree with Pi, what he said earlier. Director, good old NB Nabashine's self-insert was a nice way to keep the show, kind of on the up and up and not let it drag down like it ends up doing later on and really throughout the series. But other than that, I really don't have a whole lot that I like about the show. Those are the only positives I can really think of. What did you not like about the show, if anything?
The big things I didn't like... When I first watched the show, I really didn't have a problem with it at all. I mean, it started out strong, and as it drew out, it went downhill a little bit, but it wasn't anything terrible until I got to episode 17, and that's where it started really heading south for me. When I went back and rewatched the OVAs, and then when I went back and did GXP again, I noticed all of the retcon, and the big ones were, to me anyway, Washu made Fuku. Now, at the end of OVA 2, she says she's never going to make another Ryo-Ohki again. She swears to Funaho she'll never do it again, but she does because reasons. Now, apparently it's because, Tenchi asked her to because he was worried about Sena, which, whatever, it seems like it's a big plot convenience as far as I'm concerned. And the other one is when Katsuhito Yosho, in front of everybody, he made it, again, in OVA 2, he made a big attempt to hide his real age and his real identity from everybody. He only showed it to Funaho in OVA 2. But then, now all of a sudden, in GXP, it's cool if his big secret's blown to everybody. He shows what he really looks like in front of Ryoko, Tenchi, Ayeka, and Sena. And the big one that gets me there is he shows it to Ayeka, which in the first OVA, they made it very clear that no, he is an old man now, and she doesn't really want anything to do with him anymore because of his age. She can't. But when OVA 2 came about, it turns out he's really, he's old, but he doesn't look that old. He still looks like a young man. And now in GXP, she can know because reasons. That's what I don't like about GXP. Some of the bigger things that I don't like about GXP.
I will say I am a strong supporter, and I try not to get too technical with the show because I've seen some of those flaws also. I will also say about for the most part, that part I kind of shook it off. I mean, the show did go downhill a little bit. Not like you guys probably got more technical than I did because I went in with that mindset that I talked about earlier. But I did notice a couple things. First thing about the Yosho thing, yeah, that was too much. Like that kind of completely sold Ayeka on like Tenchi. He's like, oh, I'm an old man now. You can't marry me. You can have my grandson. He's like, okay, and that's like that kind of done it. But then then again, it's like its own separate thing. The second thing I would probably say, then like the whole luck thing, that lost me almost immediately. I thought that was ridiculous the first time I heard that. I was like, luck. That's the base thing. He's got bad luck. That's what it is. And they're saying that, and they try to make it sound like it was a special skill. I was like, how does that have anything to do with pirates and crap like that? It's like I understand you get unlucky and like run into them, but it's like that can't be considered a skill or a talent. That's not what it is. It's bad luck. And then they're like, oh, it's so bad he hurts himself all the time. Yay. It's like there's a comic relief right there. Got that, but he hurts himself. Oh yeah, and then it's like all the girls get rid of his bad luck. That's where I was starting to doubt how this was. I started to doubt the series real bad on that one. I did not like how they introduced that and how they like did that. I just didn't like the bad luck aspect whatsoever because I thought it was like that was where I drew the line right there. That's where I drew the line. I was like, okay, so this entire thing's about bad luck, a kid with bad luck, and how he goes through. It's like that was my turning point. It's like I liked the show, but I could not understand why they would just do that. Like they went. It's like they get like I can believe the stuff that was in Tenchi, like that, like at least had some sort of logic. Well, maybe I'm not going to be like complete. I'm not going to compare that much, but like bad luck. I'm not going to say this enough. Like it just didn't really. I didn't get that. I don't know why they decided to go with that as like what. It's like what because they pretty much like use it to like just write him off and make him get into all these situations. And I get that, but it's all about probability and stuff like that. They're like trying to do science with it. I was like, you can't do science with bad luck. Like it's probability. That's a math and a science, but it's like you got to draw the line somewhere. And the bad luck was just not my cup of tea, and I don't like what they did to like make sure that the girls stay with him for like ever, and I didn't. That was another thing. And then the last thing I will say, because I don't want to take too much time, but I will say, and how I like the giant robot and how they did that, but then it was like, oh, you have a seat connected to you. Now you're in line for the Royal Throne. I was like, what? Like this ain't like he's getting in by marriage. Like he's in because he got linked to a tree. It's like what happened to the other person that was linked to the tree, and they didn't go into too much depth on the tree other than it was a royal tree seed. Ridiculous. And I was like, you're just gonna let this guy in because he linked the tree. I was like, I know you got rules, but I think that was a little far fetched also, in the fact that it's like all this far fetched stuff. It's like I can't. It's like I'll be on board, but I'm not gonna like it.
I had, as to what I don't like, I mean, I had a hard time processing or having any relation to or liking really the characters other than maybe Kirito. Not Kirito, Kiriko. I keep saying that. He's not the character from Sword Art Online. It's important. I understand they tried to go with a slapstick angle and try to make it more funny, but a lot of the funny was just, this is kind of sad. It's not really funny. It's just, the guy needs to be put in a giant bubble somewhere and, left to fend for himself while somebody takes care of him. The pirates all seemed way over the top and ridiculous. There's no reason to fear them. Tarrant was the only one that was ever shown that had any kind of a mean streak, and even when he's staring down Sena after he's collected the Cabots or whatever, it's like, I'm going to shoot you or stab you or we're going to have a sword fight or whatever, and I'm going to monologue, but you don't feel like there's any menace. The music kind of plays into that. It's always kind of upbeat, comical stuff. It was also a kind of an issue being that GXP was the first series that went full CG style art, so it was all extremely bright and clean versus what we had experienced before with cell shaded artwork. So it was, it didn't have that naturalist hand brushed look to it. So that was a knee-jerk reaction by a lot of fans back in the day. As Hiro kind of mentioned, the kind of way overboard sexualization of things throughout the show it's just kind of thrown in there, but you don't really see for a purpose. I mean, all these girls are attracted to him for whatever reason. They all physically appear to be twice his age, and they're all much taller, much more buxom, whatever. And Sena has no, other than him being the White Knight character, he has no really redeeming qualities. I mean, he's got more to him than Tenchi necessarily does for what time period we get to see of him. The OVAs and overall are shorter than what you get out of GXP. But kind of like Seto. She's this schemer, kind of over-the-top matchmaker that to some extent has more authority than even the Jiraiyan Emperor. And it's all just very weird mishmash together into this pile, and then you're just supposed to ride with it. And then there's serious moments, and then it goes right back to being totally off the wall. It just feels like a jigsaw puzzle that was kind of put together and then dropped on a floor, and some pieces stayed and some pieces kind of flipped upside down, some are disjointed. Now, with that said, the thing we don't know is that Kajishima went and said, I don't like how GXP turned out. The anime, anyway. So he went and wrote a series of novels. Now, nobody so far has done anything more than really summaries of those novels. So we're not real sure, did he fix it and go a different direction? Or is it still all kind of crazily mixed up? So, I don't have a problem with other people liking it, and there's other things in there. I just found it extremely hard to relate to the characters, to care about the characters. This universe, the only reason the people in power have power in this universe isn't because they're admirable or strong or, their agility stat is 99. It's because they were privileged. They attached themselves to some superpower that's like a chosen, like, tsunami and the Jiraiyan trees, or you're part of some mega family somewhere that has clout. And that's why you're important in this universe. Not because you have individual merits. And as Hiro said, the luck thing, I can ride with the luck thing, but it's like, really? That's the whole basis?
Well, let's see here. For the sake of time here, speaking of, I believe somebody, it was Hiro saying such and such is like, well, that wasn't my cup of tea. So speaking of cups of tea, there, this is entirely subjective here. It's why did I not like it? It's very subjective, but straight up, it was kind of touched on upon not just the ecchi throughout it, some of that, some fan service, sure. Even if it serves no larger purpose, sure, okay, but I was off the wagon, so to speak, of Tenchi fandom when GXP came out, and then I came back into the fandom, and so I kind of here and there, intentionally and sometimes unintentionally got the gist of GXP and found out, oh yeah, it's harem ending, he gets them all, that kind of thing, and that's why I personally I don't like the idea of Tenchi going that way. Is like, I'm like, well then why do I care? You know what I mean? Like, these girls are fighting for his affections, but and I don't really watch these shows either, but the reason the suspense is there on like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, who's he or she gonna end up with? Who's gonna be the one? Well, surprise, all of them. Nobody gets sent home. They're with all of them. Like, well then what's the point of the drama? What do you care? Like, kind of like JG said, I don't know why I'd be along for the long haul if he's just gonna marry them all. Whoop-de-doo. That's great. But my big thing was something that turned me off initially. Was and I'm glad Hiro, you kind of mentioned when I had heard. I won't get into that more, but yeah, the whole point of the secession of a throne and a royal family is that there's lineage and stuff, which JG said is in that universe to the point of it hampering, plot or protagonist development or things like that. And yet, it turns out any John or Jane Doe that gets hooked up with first generation seed, boom, you're congratulations, you're the new emperor. Wow, okay. But no, what I didn't like really turned me off was, sorry to say, I probably judged her, very prematurely because of this, and I wish I could have judged this character more on her own merit and as a separate character, but no, Kajishima had to go and have another character named Ryoko. Why would you do that? I mean, just Just not. Why would you do that? You're the guy who's riding on the coattail of, oh, I made the characters for Tenchi Muyo. Everyone knows Tenchi Muyo. Here's a series that it's a spin-off of Tenchi Muyo. You have Tenchi Muyo in the title, and then you go and name one of your main characters the same first name as you had with your other iconic main character. That's senseless to me, and it's for that, like I said, for that poor character, it's shooting yourself in the foot before you even get out of the gate. That character had no survival chance. I'm sure I'm not the only one, and that's unfortunate. And you can say I didn't give her a fair chance. That's fine, absolutely. But there's no reason for him to have done that. And now that you've had on more recent casts and recent developments of the whole Hayashi Kajishima thing, the Kiyone, Makibi Kiyone Masake thing, that fits right in with, unfortunately, I gotta say, that seems to fit in with his behavior of just, I like that name, I'm gonna take it and put it on this character, like it's an outfit and you can just do that. That irked me, really did. Obviously I'm a big Ryoko fan, but yeah, that's pretty much my piece on things that bugged me about it.
What do I not like about GXP? Well, I will second most of everything everyone else has said so far, in particular the fan service and ecchi element of this series. Don't get me wrong, OVA 1 had the onsen episode. Universe had an onsen episode. Actually had a couple here and there. It starts becoming a bit of a problem when about half the episodes, 1/3 to 1/2 of the episodes of a series, have naked women in bathhouses all the time. That's 90% of what I saw Seina's crew doing when they weren't out running around space. They were in a bathhouse, lounging around, or chasing Seina around. It's nice to have that maybe once as a joke, maybe once with some serious elements to it, but it starts becoming drilled into the ground after a couple times. So that was way overdone. Now, another thing that was there was something I found that very annoying about this series was the Deus Ex Machina aspect of this series. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in this series where the crew is essentially cornered essentially backed into a corner. They have no other recourse, and suddenly something from out of nowhere that no one else predicted cropped up. Nothing that's been foreshadowed, nothing that's been alluded to in previous episodes, just magically manifests to save the crew's life. Episode 2, Mikagami, Seto just appears out of nowhere and decides to take all these pirates and arrest them under penalty of death when Seina is traveling to the immigration station for the first time. And where the hell was she? Why was she there? Okay, that's happened. Then in episode 10, Seina's backed into a corner. Terrence essentially stalking him through the corridors of the ship. Kiriko whips off her GP uniform and reveals a combat uniform, cloaks herself, and proceeds to kill pretty much every pirate she runs across until she gets to Seina and Tarrant, which she's never shown homicidal tendencies like that ever again. Why is that there? Why does she do this? Does she magically have this ability to just destroy everything in her path when she's angry? She's angry about half the show when she's flustered with the other girls. You don't see her massacring people left, right, and center with some kind of split personality sort of complex. Also, episode 12, the crew's running away from a bunch of pirate guilds, and they don't have weapons to take them out. So what do? Well, they wait for Ryo-Ohki to appear. Ryo-Ohki just happened to be flying to Jirai for whatever reason and got involved in the conflict, whips some ass, and then say, "Okay, hi, I'm Ryo-Ohki." Woof, gone again. Why was Ryo-Ohki there? What's the point? Can't Seina get himself out of his own jams? It happens again 3 episodes later in episode 15. Not only does Ryo-Ohki show up this time, but the Chobi Maru shows up from OVA Series 3, which the Chobi Maru should be either half damaged or in horrible disrepair after what Ryo-Ohki and Ryoko did to it in OVA Series 3. Moreover, the commander of the ship, which is Mashisu from OVA Series 3. Shouldn't she be on doing the Kurimitsu right with her husband for 10 years, which was his sentence from the end of OVA 3? That's another kettle of fish there. But you have 2 gigantic battleships that are saving Fuku because Fuku's suddenly scared when she was fine doing combat the episode previous. Then, of course, there's the Zimv idol that crops up in the last couple episodes. That one, at least you have an episode of build-up before you see it go full 6 Lighthawk wing, Uber mode, combines with Fuku, and proceeds to pretty much tear the Daedalus a new hole to excrement through. There's a lot of things that just pop out of nowhere conveniently to save Seina's rear, which kind of makes you wonder, wait a minute, isn't he supposed to have bad luck? So, another bit of business on what I didn't like about GXP was the constant breaking of laws and skirting it under the carpet. So, in particular, the entire point of Seina being on in the Galaxy Fleece is supposed to be a mistake. Amane went to Earth. She was delivering something to the Tenchi Company, which we don't even know what the hell she was delivering because it was in a paper bag, and Seina left on the doorstep. We don't know what the hell that thing was. But Amane just happens to find Seina there. So what does she do? Oh, you've survived me crashing into you. Here's a pamphlet for the Galaxy Police. 2 episodes later, when they actually get to the immigration station, there's this big blow up between Kiriko and Amane. And one of the things is, Seina is supposed to be pure blood Terran, pure blood from Earth. He's not supposed to be aware of extraterrestrial civilizations yet. They make a big deal about that, and it's supposed to be taboo, against the law, forbidden. Amane gets a slap on the wrist. Oh, you did bad. Go teach classes for however long I feel like to do it. I'm sorry, that's not what you do to someone who's just broken a big tenet, the prime directive, so to speak. We shall not interfere. Prime directive from the Federation and Star Trek. That's kind of what we're supposed to be alluding to here. And Amane breaks it and gets away with it. For essentially, for all intents and purposes. Or maybe, no, she got a slap on the wrist. Come on, seriously, I don't believe that. Not only that, but they start flaunting this fact. When Elma starts getting to know Seina, one thing that she does is she takes him, and actually they do experiments on what have you. The Academy essentially Shanghai's people and starts doing tests on them to do research. And she flaunts, oh wait, we've got this Earthling that we could do tests on here. Oh wait, Serio makes a big deal. Oh, you're that Earthling that I ran across. Guys, you're showing your shame of how you've broken the law, and no one's going to call you on it? Come on, if this thing's supposed to be so taboo and so against the law, why is everyone acting like it's not a big deal? Then there's the whole thing that happens in episode 16 with Neji, the little short green-haired girl, the Sasami wannabe. She's supposed to be a high priestess of Melmass. She's got ridiculous telepathic power. She can mind control people. She can affect the collective consciousness. She's got all these ridiculous high-end powers, and she's stepping down. She's supposed to go into protective custody. Essentially, she's retiring from her position. And one of those requirements of her retirement is to stay on her home planet. Oh, Seto picks her up and drops her on Earth, and you see her crop up at the end of episode 16. Which, wait, you just took a foreign national from another planet and over to another planet that's not supposed to know about alien life at all. Shouldn't that cause an international incident that you just kidnapped someone who is a big political figure from over here and taken him over there? Yes. Am I aware that they do have a body double? Yes, they have a body double. Ooh, fancy, whoop-de-doo. That doesn't change the fact that it happened. Just because Seto says it's okay doesn't mean it should occur. Then there's the whole thing with Jirayan Customs. How many times did we watch Amane, Kiriko, or anyone else in full view of other characters who probably should not be aware of this, started talking about state secrets of Jirai, all the people who are in the Misaki family, how powerful the Misaki family is, how secret the Misaki family is supposed to be. Oh wait, Kiriko also mentions, and I heard somewhere that Tenchi has this special power. I don't know what it is, but I heard he has a special power. How is she supposed to even know that Tenchi has a special power? Isn't that supposed to be a ridiculously heavily guarded secret on Jirai? All of these things would be capital punishment under pretty much any law system you have in the universe, or at least on Earth. How can they get away with this? This is also because also along different governmental bodies. You have JIRAI, you have the Galactic Union, which they do mention the Galactic Union as being a distinct political entity at this point. And I'm assuming Melmass and the Renza Federation are different political bodies as well. Does Seto know enough people that she can get away with murder if she wants to? I mean, a lot of this just doesn't make sense as to how they can get away with it. Then, lastly, the last thing I'll go into, because I don't want to go into all the contradictions with the OVA 1, because Crazed already alluded to a couple with Yosho. I could go on days about Ryo-Ohki and Ryuo, but I won't. Seina's career in the Galaxy Police. Again, we're led to believe from episode 1 that Seina is supposed to be the most unlucky person in the entire bloody galaxy. That's why he can attract pirates, is because his luck's so terrible, the pirates will appear wherever he goes. He's going to be trailed by pirates the rest of his life. But wait, Seina's career in the Galaxy Police, he lucks into it because Amane happens to find him. He gets 3 female instructors who get to live with him, which that's horribly questionable and unprofessional. He's supposed to be in the Galaxy Police Academy, but you see him only actually in class once and on the track once. How the hell can he end up commanding a starship? Then, on the first voyage, what's going on? These students are not even being overseen. How is he supposed to learn anything if you don't show him what to do? Where is the education of this Galaxy Academy that we're supposed to be led to believe is so important in this universe? Then, when Seina is attacked by Tarrant, he freezes up. So he freezes up in episode 10. Okay, he's scared. He has a little. He even seems to have a little after effect, because the next 2 episodes he flashes back to that incident where he kind of hesitates. He has some flashbacks. So okay, you have this guy who has not been battle tested. What do you do with him? You give him his own command, of course. That seems like a bad reward system. You're rewarding someone who, under pressure, cracked. That makes no sense. Why would you give someone who cracked a command over other people? Not only the fact that when did he learn to command a battleship? Then there's the fact that battleship. What makes him able to get Washu's latest battleship, regardless of the fact of whether or not the battleship should exist in the first this newbie, this no one, gets the best, most recent issue version of Professor Genius Washu's battleship to go chase pirates. What? What deems him worthy to have such a thing? Why shouldn't the Galaxy Army, who by the way tries to steal the damn thing in the last few episodes, why can't they get it? They're the ones who would actually be dueling war. Why shouldn't they have this badass battleship? Let's see. Also, Seina, and this is something that kind of made me scratch my head, Seina is pure blood Earthling. That's something that's been drilled into the earth in the first several episodes. How can he communicate with Funaho? When he runs into Yosho after having a race with Tenchi, falls off a mountain and what have you, he lands next to the Funaho, the holy tree. And when he's talking to Yosho back and forth, he suddenly hears another voice that no one else hears. And Yosho pretty much looks at him and says, "Oh, so you're talking to her," points behind him, and there's the tree Funaho. He can hear Funaho's words when no one else can. How can he do that? Similarly, that ties into why he can actually control the idol with that first generation tree bud. How? He's supposed to be Earthling, right? If he's pure Earthling, how can he do this? Isn't that only a JIRAI thing? Isn't that supposed to be their shtick? Then, Seina spends so much time lounging around, even with his duel with Serio. Kanemitsu, who's one of Seto's right hands, decides to essentially have him get prepared for combat. He goofs around and landers around, and he idly mentions that he learned how to use the sword. He hasn't used the sword the entire bloody series. When did he learn how to use the sword, let alone be good enough to fight someone with Serio's talent, which, again, we're led to believe that he actually has a significant amount of talent as well with the blade. We, of course, never see it, even with a duel with Tenchi. Then, let's see, Santa's third in line to Jiraiya's throne. That was another thing that Craze has already mentioned. What the hell? What's going on here? And lastly, last thing I'm going to even mention in any of this stuff is Santa's family at the end comes to see him marry 9 female characters. Yeah, he marries all of them, even Fuku, because Irie even says so. But even believe that should be accepted. Last but certainly not least, his family gets brought on board Mikigami and taken to the dark side of the moon to see his wedding. Aren't they from a primitive society like Sana, and it's taboo to show them this stuff? That doesn't make sense. If this is law, why you keep breaking it every time you turn around good? Now, it could, okay, say you take him up there. The Seto's fix for this supposedly is to wipe their memories of everything that they see. Oh wait, how cruel is that to have essentially let them see their boy's wedding to all these women, regardless of the legality or the particulars of it, and then wipe their memory of the entire event. That what? I'm dumbfounded. And then there's all the fun things with OVA 1, but I'm done.
Very well spoken, Pi. You know, I know that me and Pi and a few others had gone over many of these things a few days ago before we went into the GXP cast. You know, one of the things that Pi had touched on and that I absolutely 100% agree with and that the show utterly failed at was coherent storytelling. There are so many times where something pops into the show literally once, is never explained why, is never touched on ever again, and that's only talking about semi-unimportant stuff. Some of the most important things that are integral to the plot are given so little screen time, or none at all, and are quickly panned to bikini contest or, some other gimmicky fan service, and it's like, really? So that really important tree ceremony that Kiriko has doesn't even happen on screen? So many things are hand-waved. The term plot convenience has been abused by the show to literal death. 90% of everything that happens in this show is plot convenience. It's just hand-waved. It's, oh, well, whatever. No, not whatever. The whole point is to show us why that's important, why that's brought up. And I personally think it's one of the things that absolutely murdered this show. It's one of the things that really hurt it bad was the fact that, and this is something that happens throughout the OVA line after OVA 1, and OVA 3 in particular had this really jarring problem, is the fact that the people involved with creating it and writing the story are not holding themselves accountable to the current plot continuity. They're just assuming, and I'm going to put this right on Kajishima, they're assuming that, oh, well, if I can't tell it here, I'll just write it somewhere else. Don't mind my vulgarity here, but that's shit storytelling 101. You do not do that. That's pacing suicide. You do not do that. You do not have, oh, well, one of the things I love that Sana did was like, well, combat it's basic. You don't have to know. What do you mean combat is basic? Like, I'm sorry, Mr. Bad Luck, Mr. Ironically enough, Bad Luck who lucks in everything. Even, we're going to go forward 2 series here. Even in Seikishi, War on Geminar, the reason that Kenshi is so good at what he does is because he was trained, supposedly, again, plot holes, plot convenience, he was trained every day for 15 years. That's why he can do what he can do. It's way far out there and it's a stretch, but it makes more sense than, whatever. Again, plot convenience, hand waved. Oh, well, I learned combat. It's basic. It's like, what? Like, no, you don't just become a good fighter. You don't just become. That's not something that you can just throw away at or you can just say off in jest. One of the things that Pi brought up was the fact that apparently the core units of the Jiraiyan ships, they can fly. They can go into space. They don't actually need that big bulky ship. So explain to me then why Ryo needs a new ship hull in the first place. What was the whole point of doing that in OVA 1? Or what was the whole point of showing that in the first 2 OVA period? Why did Washu have to do that? Another thing that we also have to ask ourselves is the fact that, what is it, Pai Amane says something about knowing that Ryuo is on Earth?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
She was labeling off all the people who are ridiculously overpowerful on Jirai in episode 17, and actually mentions that Ryuo is still regarded as a royal ship, and then Seto proceeds to explain that the royal ship is actually just the core unit, doesn't need the fuselage. The fuselage is actually a limiter, according to what Seto says.
How would she even know that Ryuo was still working? How would she? Because Ryuo, the last time we saw her, was in a sub dimension that Washu had created. As far as we knew, Ryuo wasn't even working. The last time we saw Ryuo, it was growing, but we didn't know any of that. Like, again, they're alluding to things that have never been explained and are never brought up ever again. And it's just kind of like, why? Another one of the things that really, really, really irked me was the fact that they build up these bad guys, these antagonists. Serio is brought up, not necessarily a bad guy, a traditional villain, but he's an antagonist to Sena, and he works hard. Tarrant, a bad guy. They build him up to be a bad guy. He's a villain. He can do all of these things. He strangles Fuku clones, blah, blah, blah. He is set up to be this badass. And then it's just hand-waved. Like, oh, comedic relief. Why even build him up in the first place? Why? What's the point? When, at the very beginning of the show, or near the beginning of the show, all Seto has to do to fight the Pirate Guild is pop in and be like, boop, I gotcha. So what is the point of building up to a point where, I believe it's Fuku and the one ship, I don't remember. Help me on this one, Pi.
Mitsuki.
Fuku and Mitsuki. Fuku goes into Mitsuki and is able to access the Lighthawk wings to destroy the one Pirate Guild. Why? What's the point? If the Pirate Guilds are that easy to overcome and that easy to turn on and whatever, what's the point in this overkill? It's ego stroking. Like, it's trying to make the character look cool. Pretty sure most people aren't looking at Seto and those characters like that anyway. That's just my opinion. But what's the point? There's no point to it. It's a waste of build-up. It's a waste of time. And it just, I don't want to go on this too much more because that's pretty much the entirety of its problem. It's plot convenience. Oh, well, this happened. Oh, well, this happened. And it's just like that. I just want to say this right now. Some people who will probably say, oh, well, this was explained here. This was explained there. This was explained in a doujin. This was explained in a novel. That doesn't help the show. The camera doesn't lie. The show doesn't just magically get better because a book came out. The show still sucks ass because its pacing is all over the place. It hand waves half the things that happen in the show. It doesn't explain half the things that happen in the show. That's bad storytelling. The guy, you do not do that. And just because you explain it later on also does not mean that it makes sense. The Ryuo thing. That was the first that we heard of it. Again, OVA 1, OVA 2, what's the whole point in trying to build Ryo again if Aika can just get in Ryo and fly back to Jirai? Like, so many things that are brought in, explained, and never touched on again that are extremely important to what's going on. Especially for a show that's supposed to be in the quote-unquote OVA continuity proper, is just literally shoveling things at you, and they don't make sense. And the final part of that is the fan service. We like Pi had mentioned, we had fan service a little bit here and there. We had OVA episode 4, but they were all done tastefully. It wasn't panned up. The direction was not at them in those episodes. Universe had some of those, but they were never ever, like stereotypical, under the butt, directing shot or stereotypical jiggle shot. Like, it was all done tastefully. So much of GXP is that. And it's really jarring. Again, coming from at this point, for many fans, myself included, we came from Tenchi Forever. We had 7 years of Tenchi under our belt. We knew what Tenchi was for all intents and purposes. And then we get thrown into this, and it doesn't really feel like Tenchi. You know, it's we're told it's Tenchi. It has the Tenchi name. There are Tenchi characters that pop up, despite not sounding like them at all. But you know, there's just such a jarring disconnect. And I'll leave it. Finally. I know I said it was done before. Tenchi Muyo GXP is the only show on New Toonami that was basically canceled because it was moved multiple time slots because it was rating poison. That speaks volumes. Alright, we are going to open it up to some small general discussion as we have broken the 1 hour time barrier.
The connection with Duel, let me first add a little line in there. I think the reason the trees could talk to each other between the different ships was it was mentioned somewhere, I can't cite a reference, but the trees had some connection at a lower like subspace level and they could communicate with each other and back with Tsunami, so they knew that they existed or whatever. But apparently, like in GXP, like you said, it's hand waved, and I'll get to that in a real quick second. But going into its ties with Duel, GXP has a lot of references to Duel in several places, particularly 3 episodes. The first main one being the 21st episode, Reckoning, where Kirito and Seto and that, they start showing off Kirito's ship. And they go into talking, like Pi had mentioned, that the outer shell is a limiter. It holds the armaments of the ship. The ships don't like to fight. There's a huge space inside the ship that can literally pretty much generate life. It has endless power supplies. It has all this other stuff. And that was only a 2nd generation ship. It wasn't even a 1st. But then you get into episode 24, which even the title is a reference to Duel, saying parallel, which it has no other place in being there without it being a reference to Duel. And you see the Idol, which is the GXP mecha that is almost a twin of Zenv or Jinbu from Dual Parallel Trouble Adventure. There's a lot of different stuff with Duel and GXP. Like they'd go into in the next episode 25, Graduation, when Sena gets brought before the Emperor and Seto and several other important key people. And they show you the interior of the idol and that it has a Jirayan tree seed from a billion with a B years ago, where apparently some other organization, group, or culture, which we're believing is officially referenced as the precursors, came to Jirai, which yet they say that was before Jirai was Jirai, because Jirai, in terms of a political or an entity, was originally a pirate guild themselves, and they had no planet. Came to that location and apparently spoke with Tsunami, and an interstellar traveler was sent off with these 2 seeds as like a gift, a going away present, who knows what. Apparently it's kind of like Tokimi, where she just decides on a whim to create chaos in the universe, and here, have 2 of the most powerful energy sources in existence, and do what you will with them. So, it's a very old thing. If you watch both Duel and GXP, you can see where there's a lot of ties, where Duel, they don't know what technology they're playing with. They're in a different parallel dimension on Earth, and they're messing with technology that doesn't belong there. And so they're referencing it as an Earthling would, and not knowing what they're playing with. There's some stuff that relates back to GXP when you're talking about Duel. Kazuki bonded with the bonding plate that's found in the construction site, which then mates him to the mechanoid, whereas Sena just says, well, you bonded with it because you were in the thing for a while. There's also different things talking about the WoW planet and the idol being from a hero many, many millennia ago, before the grandfather's time, that came in and vanquished their enemy and then left the mecha there. It's also evident that the idol has been in a previous battle at some point, because it's cracked all over the top orbs on either shoulder, or have been smashed in. It's got other problems, and then it miraculously merges with the Kamadaki to get all powered up. And then there's the question of the Lighthawk wings. Zenv only had 2 Lighthawk wings, and I think if you really look at it, there's only 2 wings that are built off of the idol. If you really slow down the footage, it creates 2 wings, and then those wings spread out and have little offshoots and all kinds of other stuff, which we've seen other characters do here and there. So it's probably that it still has two wings, but there may be more available to it after the fusion with the Kamadaki, so it's hard to really tell. That's been a point of contention for many years. The whole thing of having a powerful tree attached to you puts you in line for the throne. It makes sense in terms of a power struggle, but it doesn't make sense because you may have this total, wimp, new, poisonous person to your empire sit on the throne. And then suddenly everybody's worried about Yosho. Contact Yosho, there's this line of succession issue now. Well, he doesn't really care, claims Irie. Which doesn't make a lot of sense anyway, because Yosho was the one that ran away from the throne and said, "Here, Tenchi, take my place. I don't want anything to do with these people." So, there's a lot of interesting things there. But the core unit terminology, the limiter terminology, the science at a foundational level, even Seto says that she goes and speaks with Tsunami about where did this tree seed come from and where all that. And said there was 2 seeds, and these were sent off, but we don't know where the other one is. Well, the other one is Zenv and Duel. Now, what exactly happened in order to get it there is kind of questionable, but we know some of the back history is that a group of pirates came against the civilization that had settled on Earth, and they made kind of like an Atlantis of sorts, and then D fled with Zenv and apparently crashed back into Earth with another warship along with the Jorian battleship that was chasing them. So there may have been some kind of thing in the past where they tried to reclaim the tree seed that they felt was rightfully theirs and attack these people, because at that point in time they were still pirates. So it's an interesting backstory to the whole GXP thing. It doesn't play as much into War on Geminar as you would think, because that's, according to Kajishima, his intended original vision for Duel was Geminar. So it's kind of rough to see much correlation there. But it's important to note as well that, again, back to the novels, Novel 3 and Novel 4 of GXP have Mitsuki Sanada from Duel, another parallel version of herself, in there along with her father. Apparently they are AI constructs in the GP mainframe, along with Seina's data that has somehow constituted itself as like a virtual construct, and he's got problems and the other 2 AI have to help him. So she's in there again with a different name. I believe it's Mitsuki Ranada and Hiroshi Ranada. But that type of thing is seen throughout the system. It's even in some of the dojins. There was a Duel and GXP crossover, which is pretty, it's in a dojin he made, but it's still pretty much unofficial, you could say. So the thing to think of is that one complements the other, and you can learn a lot more about the underlying workings of the universe if you study them both at face value. What are the characters in the series experiencing from their point of view?
What would you have done anything different in GXP? Oh, yes. In particular, there are a couple things in the series that are alluded to, or that are allusions to other series. For example, the grappler ships. Almost all the pirate ships are grappler ships, which seem to be an allusion to, say, Outlaw Star. It would have been nice to see like Outlaw Star style combat in this kind of series. Similarly, the Tyrant ship actually is called the Daedalus, which, not too surprisingly, might be a allusion to Macross's Daedalus, which is the one of I think the right arm of the Macross when it's in its transformed state. Those 2 things are well known for some serious combat power. It would have been lovely to see them actually live up to those namesake potentials and actually see more combat. Again, the Galaxy Police is supposed to be a military or paramilitary organization, and while we see them luring out pirates for the Jirai to take down, we don't see as much of the Galaxy Police doing, well, Galaxy Police things, despite the film that Seina was shown in episode 2. Let's see, other things that could have been done. The body enhancement that Seina goes through in episode, I think, 6 or 7. you think with the ability to run ridiculously fast around that track or to do sit-ups at breakneck speed, that the combat in the hand-to-hand combat with, say, for example, Tarrant or Serio would have been equally as fast or fast-paced. And imagine getting hit with a punch moving that quickly. It'd be like combating the Flash. Now, you might have an entire team full of Flashes, but even then, you'd start seeing like cracks in the wall. You'd start seeing battle aura type stuff. You'd think that with that kind of body enhancement, you'd start seeing either DC Comics level or DBZ level combat before too long, and that seems like something that was mentioned and then dropped, never really talked about again. I would have loved to see more of Tarrant and Kiriko being badass. That kind of ties in with I think this kind of a theme of more combat for the Galaxy Police. Show them being police. In episode 17, it is mentioned that Tarrant came back to the pirate guilds with his arm in a sling and what have you. I actually, the first time I saw that, presumed that it was because that Sena had beaten Tarrant. But turns out, according to Ryoko Belota, as well as I think Amane or Kiriko, I forget which, Tarrant had actually come to Earth looking for Sena's parents to kidnap them, and he ran into the Saki household and got his ass handed to him, which makes me kind of go, why wasn't that shown on screen? That would have been a great opportunity to have another crossover with the mainline Tenchi Muyo characters and actually see them in their forefront, in their element, protecting Earth and keeping people away, keeping people safe, keeping themselves safe if Tarrant actually found out about them. Let's see. Also, I mentioned before that Sena, you see a lot of him lounging around in times you think he would be doing preparation. Why can't we? Wouldn't it have been nice to see more combat, more strategy, where Sena's actually being taught how to be a leader, taught to be a fighter, taught to actually be the Galaxy Police officer that we want, that at least the viewer should want him to become. Let's see. This one's another irksome little thing. They mention again that Neji has this ability to affect the collective consciousness, and actually, Seto says that they actually wanted Neji on the ship, and when they were transporting her from Jirai back to her, I think her home world, that they wanted to compare Neji's ability to affect the collective unconscious to Sena's horrible luck. There's a little bit of actual lore there where they're comparing Sena's ability, thinking of it might actually be a harnessable power, that he might be able to affect probabilities, that he might be able to manipulate probabilities, a la the Scarlet Witch from Marvel Comics. But it's kind of hand-waved again. It's mentioned and then dropped because you never really hear about it again. But it'd be interesting, considering Neji's ability allows her to essentially mind control the others because they are all about to strangle her. She essentially freezes all four of them before they get close to her, and she starts going on about how she can essentially mind control people, but it's forbidden. Not like forbidden things haven't actually happened in the show. But again, that's dropped. Couldn't that be a great weapon to be able to help the Kamidake? You have this girl who can manipulate people's minds and freeze them in place. If you could somehow amplify that through the Kamidake too, you could freeze the pirate guilds. That could be something that could be very, very handy. Other things you could do more with the drawing culture, again, as Dagon mentioned a moment ago. You have this whole tree ceremony with Kiriko getting bond with Miski. However, instead of seeing that, you get to see Sena get chased by Seto's adjutants or assistants or whoever they are, the Renza Federation girls, and chasing him around. Lots of fan service nonsense going on. You had a golden opportunity to show us what Jirai's like, the inner workings, the inner sanctum of Jirai, and it was thrown aside. It was a lost opportunity, I think. In mentioning about Seto and her adjutants, really, let's be honest about it, I could have dealt a lot less with them. There was actually when they actually take down the Dharma Pirate Guild in episode 21, Sena and all four of his crew are sitting on board the Kamidake 2. Seto and her four adjutants are also there, and Seto proceeds to essentially tell Sena, "Stand back, we got this." the five of them, Seto and the four adjutants, take command of the Kamidake 2, use Miski's Lighthawk wings, and destroy the Dharma Guild. Which, wait, wasn't that what Sena was being built up to do? Why not give Sena a win? Why not give him his own opportunity to show what he can do? This seems like a climax in the story, and it's essentially handed over to a character who, honestly, is not the protagonist of the show. Why? But long story short, I would have loved to see Sena and his crew do that. Let them earn a win, not just luck into it or have someone else give them a win. Have them actually get the win themselves. That would have given more force to Sena's character as opposed to like Serio's character, where he's shown doing the hard work. Show me Sena and his crew working their asses off, strategizing, fighting, commanding the ship, doing all the crew stuff. That would have been a golden opportunity right there. Also, again, with allusions to other series, again, JG went at length about the connection with Duel. Dude, show me some more Duel. That's one thing I think is JG's tagline is, we want more Duel. This would have been a great time to show more Duel. Like, dedicate like the second half of the show to the Duel and and backstory of, is the Zimb idol that we see here, is that the same Zimb? Was the battle actually Koski sent back in time or from a parallel universe or something and caused the idol to be there? There's a lot of possibilities you could have gone in with that, and they were not extrapolated. They were not pursued. I think this show had a truckload of potential. It really did. But unfortunately, it just was not exploited.
I'll just throw this little thing in. Don't even have to keep it, but I remember this was kind of a thing with OVA3 and some Kaji stuff in general, how convoluted it is in terms of, I remember, the actual production end here, writer or director, whoever would be behind it, or if that was Kajushima himself who did this. But I remember I was so struck when when there's a part in the first few episodes where Irie literally pulls out a chart and tries to explain to Sena the Tenchi's family tree and the Jorian royal family and how everyone's connected, and Sena's just kind of like, huh? So I'm like even the people behind it, the characters in the show and the real people behind the production we know this is really, really, really hard to keep track of, but it is what it is. So I found that funny.
I can just imagine. I'm sure Nabashin tried as hard as he could to save this show, but like I think Pi said it when NB's like, basically give me my manhood back. I see that as Nabashin just throwing his hands up, like, yeah, I can't save this turd.
My final word on the thing is, they should the Tenchicast, and what I also would have done differently, I would have never put the Tenchicast in Tenchi Muyo GXP. Because all it did was, for all intents and purposes, Tenchi Muyo GXP from the very beginning, is not going to be about Tenchi. Why put him in there? I mean, I get it. I get some people be like, oh, well, it's a cameo. Not necessarily. Most people don't even really want to watch GXP. They want something with Ryoko and Tenchi and Ayaka and Sasami and Mihoshi, blah, blah, blah. All GXP really did was just remind people that this isn't a series about Tenchi. Don't put him in there. You've got so many other things in GXP that have potential. Don't put episode 17 in there. Don't put Ryoko flying around. Don't put Ryo-Ohki in there. Completely devote your time to making everybody love or hate your characters and making sure everything is explained correctly. If they would have taken out episode 17, we could have had an extra episode with Tehran. We could have had an extra episode explaining this or explaining that or whatever. But that time got devoted to the Tenchicast, which, if you were like many of us, watched the dub and realized how horribly mismanaged and dubbed that was. Sorry, Rebecca Forstadt. It's not your fault, but you're not Ayaka and you're not Australian. Sorry, Funimation, get your shit together. Don't devote that time to the Tenchicast. Devote that time to Sena and Kiriko and Amane and the whole 9 yards. That's what the show's supposed to be about, right? It's supposed to be about them. Devote it 100% to them. You really want to throw in tie-ins later on? You really want to throw in, oh, well, the Tenchi gang was actually in GXP. Put it in a novel. Don't put it in the main show. And with that, we are going to wrap up episode 23 of the Tenchicast. No need for Tenchi Muyo GXP. If you like what you heard and like what we're doing, go check out Tenchiforum.com, where the never-ending carnival of discussion on Tenchi keeps going and going. Also, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, iTunes, Tumblr, and every piece of social media that you can think of. Like, subscribe to the video, and until next time, stay gold.